Gentlemen, it's time for Top of the Morning, the Pentagon's $824 billion blunder. Plus, we check up on Pennsylvania and North Carolina elections. It's time for Top of the Morning. Let's go.
NASCAR. Do you like a Tribe Called Quest? Well, you gonna love the Urban Conservative.
Do you like manwich and nachos? Well, then you love the Urban Conservative.
Do you like guns? Do you like butter? Well, you're gonna love the Urban Conservative.
Yo, what's good, son? You like pit bulls, say? You like solving Sudoku puzzles? Then you gonna love the Urban Conservative.
Hey, buddy, if your car making a sound like this, you might want to get you some power steering fluid and check out the Urban Conservative podcast.
Are you repulsed by the idea of drag queen story time at your local library, but enjoy Carol Baskin TikTok memes? Then you would enjoy the Urban Conservative.
Do you want to All right, ladies and gentlemen, you know what time it is. It's time for Top of the Morning, best 30-minute morning show or thereabouts, give or take. You know, we do maybe a little rap on the internet right here on the Urban Conservative. Shouts out to all our supporters and everybody that, you know, keeps us doing what we do over here at the Urban Conservative, which is spreading conservative policy ideas and the benefits of conservative ideology and policy positions to our urban centers across this beautiful country of ours. That's what we do over here. Gotta get involved, folks. You know, it's a thing, man. You know, and people showed up and voted. We gotta look at these historic numbers, but there's always something to be done. So soon as that election's over, right, there's another one coming. Like, don't get so now's not the time to get complacent, and we want to continue to, you know, be vocal advocates for the policy positions that are getting ready to come down the pike. We talked a little bit about last night, Monday night, about some of these cabinet picks. So we want to really, you know, keep our eye on what's happening here. And Ali, you got any shout outs? You got any events coming up before we get to the business at hand? Yeah, I do. I want to give a big shout out to the whole team over at the Marketplace Restaurant. Luke and crew will be out there Wednesday for a community conversation. They're at the Marketplace Restaurant in Moore County. So shouts out to Luke and the crew. Visit our Facebook page or go look up the Marketplace for more information about that. But yeah, definitely so far so good this morning, ladies and gentlemen. Hope all is well in your world. I'm not doing coffee this morning, by the way. I am drinking some clove tea. What you got going on in your mug this morning, bro?
So I have no mug, right? I have no mug, and I was making coffee, and we was late for the show. So right now I'm staring at a coffee maker with no coffee in it and not enough water to have anything. So I have nothing.
All right, well, fair enough. I'm on my tea game this morning. So, but yo, man, let's jump right in.
The extra spicy chai. I was going to do that, but then you know.
Nah, you opted out.
No, we had to get started. I was like, you know, I should have did this an hour ago. All that, like I gave myself some grief about not having a beverage, but
all right,
let's do this.
We're gonna jump right in, bro. We're gonna jump right in, ladies and gentlemen. Jump in the comments. Let us know where you're watching or listening from. As always, first thing on the table this morning, bro. $824 billion. The Pentagon has failed its 7th audit in a row and unable to fully account for $824 billion budget. Now, that's not saying they don't know where $824 billion is. Don't panic. But Austin, and I'm just going to say this, has been an absolute failure as the Secretary of Defense. He's been an absolute abject failure. So we're gonna read this from Fox News.
Hold on before you do that. Now we have to address the elephant in the room. which is
Okay.
what you just said. He's been a failure. Now, I am under the thought process when it comes to this, right? You
Mhm.
made a point the other day that say that some of these people can't get these stupid people and get as far as they've got, right? Like it takes a certain level of something to get to these levels of government. Now, here's the issue that I have with it.
Mhm.
How does institutional racism still exist and he's the what? He's the
He's the
what?
Secretary of Defense.
And he's black, if I'm not mistaken. And unless he's identified as something else in 2024, unless he's not a black man, right? Unless he's not.
I
How
mean,
do
so
we
let me ask this
so
question:
like
Does that argument stand? Maybe he's the Uncle Tom, as they do to the black conservatives. So he only there because he Uncle Tom. Does that apply to him?
I'm just raising the question, right? Because one of the things we got to do on this platform is we got to always highlight how ludicrous some of the ideas that are being promoted are, right? And that's what stands out to me, as well as $824 billion, right? $824 billion. So the Pentagon has failed its 7th audit in a row. I want you to think about what happens to people who fail their audit. Just think about that. Think about what happens if you fail your audit. Just keep that in mind. Or if you've ever failed an audit, right? Keep that in your mind. Failing to
So the audits resulted in a disclaimer of opinion, which means auditors were provided with insufficient information to form an accurate opinion of the accounts. Of the Department of Defense's 28 reporting entities that had standalone audits, 9 received an unmodified audit opinion, 1 received a qualified opinion, 15 received disclaimers, and 3 opinions remain pending, said the Pentagon. With the goal of achieving a clean audit by 2028, Michael McCord, Under Secretary of Defense, Comptroller, and Chief Financial Officer, said the agency has, quote, turned a corner in its understanding of the depth and breadth of its challenges. What?
So here's in a statement, the Pentagon Inspector General, right, Robert Storch, said there has been little progress since 2005, almost 20 years ago. Although, now this is a quote from General Inspector General Robert Storch. This is his quote. Although the DoD made some progress in improving financial management during the fiscal year 2024 financial statement audits, many of its identified weaknesses have not improved since 2005, he said, adding a continued commitment to addressing root causes and implementing corrective actions is necessary to move forward, achieving an unmodified opinion. Okay. The DoD must continue to address the Secretary of Defense audit priorities, aggressively retiring non-compliant systems and modernizing the DoD's financial management systems would materially support those efforts. However, achieving a clean audit opinion does not rest solely in the hands of financial management professionals, but encompasses the entirety of the processes and systems that track the accountability and use of DoD assets. According to the audit, the Department of Defense Office of the Investigative General auditors found 28 material weaknesses, 2 significant deficiencies, 6 instances of non-compliance with the law and regulations, and contract mismanagement and grant agreements, right? So material weaknesses are defined as so significant they could prevent management from promptly detecting and correcting material misstatement in the financial statement.
So it sounds like to me, cover up
So
city.
this is the last bit of it. While significant deficiencies were defined as less severe than material weaknesses, but are important enough to formally communicate to management. Okay. The Pentagon Comptroller and Chief Financial Officer Michael McCord addressed the audit in an off-camera briefing with reporters this past Friday, calling it "It's not a surprise." So, you know, your man's in them is over there messing up the bag. Let's just call this what this is. They mismanaging the bag, as it were. Like just
There you
call it
go.
facts. I mean, but now the problem is this. Let's make this make sense. Where do you get $824 billion? Where do you get that from? And what are the responsibilities of the Department of Defense, right? So for those who don't know, I think that may be a good place to start. So you're not having a conversation about this completely unaware of what these things are. So simply put, where do they get this $824 billion? Where do they get damn near $1 trillion? Who gives it to them?
You do. Yo, you want to be real about it? You do. You, the taxpayer. That is the bottom line to that.
Okay, is there
as it stands right now,
I'm
I'm looking at the
funding. Who approves the funding?
Congress does.
So what I'm doing is making you answer these questions so it could ring a bell with folks that the congressional races they actually have consequences. Who gets elected has consequences. There's consequences to this. This appointment of this guy clearly listen, when you fail in 7 audits in a row, when you failing to have good means and mechanisms to basically you're running your business in the ground, buddy. You can't even account yet. It's terrible. You're breaking the law. Had this been a regular person, they would have came already and started seizing assets and for that. Like it already would have been haywire for an average American.
There you go. So, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. We're talking about the Pentagon failing its 7th audit. We're going to take a quick commercial break, come back, talk a little bit about these Pennsylvania and North Carolina election updates here on Top of the Morning on the Urban Conservative. Don't go nowhere.
This is Cash Patel here in North Carolina, and I'm live with the Urban Conservative.
Just because you're black doesn't mean you have to vote Democrat. This year, in order to see benefits for our communities, we need to vote outside the box. Find out more by visiting us at tuconservative.com.
All right, folks, you're back here on Top of the Morning on the Urban Conservative. Yours truly, Abdul Ali, with my twin brother Raheem, Architect Soto. We're giving you the best 30-minute morning show on the interwebs. And the next thing we're going to talk about this morning is the Pennsylvania Supreme Court is ordering election officials to stop counting ballots if date. Why is this a thing, bro? Why? How is this not like a common sense? I don't get it. I just don't get it.
This is the part where you have to ask yourself who's doing this. All right. But
let me read this real quick. The Pennsylvania Supreme Court ordered elections officials to stop counting mail-in ballots marked with the wrong date or missing dates from their outer envelopes. If you have to order someone to stop doing something, that means that they're doing that thing.
Right. Can I read this part of the actual ruling?
Go ahead, bro.
All right. So this way the ruling reads in part. I have to say that. Okay. The court hereby assumes its King's Bench authority over the instant application, and then it's saying C42 PA CS subsection 502. So now we have a direct. They're telling you to see where. Okay. Only to direct that all respondents, including the Board of Election in Bucks County, Montgomery County, and Philadelphia County, shall comply with the prior rulings of this court, in which we have clarified that mail-in and absentee ballots that fail to comply with the requirements of the Pennsylvania Election Code, C25 PS subsection 3146.6a, subsection 3150 blah 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 b, shall not be counted for the purposes of the election held on November 5th. So the Republican National Committee, the RNC, shouts out to Chairman Watley, And the Republican Party of Pennsylvania brought the lawsuit in all 67 counties in Pennsylvania, as all eyes are on the U.S. Senate race where Bob Casey refuses to concede to Senator-elect Dave McCormick, despite the Associated Press calling the race for McCormick more than a week ago. Okay, so the ruling comes days after Bucks County Commissioners Diane Ellis Marglesia, I hope I said that right, and Robert Harvey Jr. moved in a 2-to-1 vote to count 405 misdated or undated mail-in ballots on November 12th. As counsel
That's crazy.
As counsel for McCormick pointed out in the separate lawsuit against the Bucks County Board of Elections in the Bucks County Court of Common Pleas. The board did so even though its legal advisors recommended rejecting the ballots based on the current state law, the appeal read. So these people know that these ballots are not right. Let's just call
So
this.
and here's the other thing that came out about this is Senator Mike Lee out of Utah is taking aim at Bob Casey over his refusal to concede, arguing that the Senate could refuse to seat him if he continues to rely on these illegal votes. Quote, if Bob Casey doesn't concede, Pennsylvania keeps counting illegal votes and Casey relies on those votes to claim victory, the Senate could refuse to seat him, end quote. Lee said that in a post on X Saturday while citing Article 1, Section 5, Clause 1, which states that, quote, each house shall be the judge of the elections, returns, and qualifications of its own members. The comments come as the Senate race will be decided by recount after Republican Senator-elect Dave McCormick won the election by roughly 26,000 votes, or within 1 percentage point margin that triggered an automatic recount under Pennsylvania law. However, Casey has refused to concede the election despite the contest being called by multiple outlets, instead insisting that a winner be declared after all votes are counted. So it sounds like more shenanigans. They want these illegal ballots, these unqualified ballots to be counted. So that's what's happening in Pennsylvania, bro. I think they're trying to make sure he holds on to power no matter what, is what that sounds like.
Well, yeah, that's the MO. You know, that's the MO for these guys, and unfortunately, it just shows you the tone deafness of that side of the aisle. Unfortunately, right now, and I know some of us want humanity, the beautiful parts of humanity to prevail, and for cool heads to prevail, but unfortunately, they're not as sharp as we think they are. All right, let's think this out. If you're on a certain side of the aisle, unfortunately, you all right, let's not even use that. Okay, if you're a Pittsburgh Steelers fan or you're a New York Knicks fan, let's make it New York. You're a New York Yankees fan. And the Yankees have they obviously have a team and they have coaches. You have to take, as a New York Yankee fan, all of what's on the team. You got to take the uniform, you got to take the logo, you got to take everything that come with the team. They record,
right,
batting average, they player choices, they how they spend their money, their TV commercial. That's all you, dog.
Right.
So I say that to say this. With states like Pennsylvania and these quote unquote blue states where they have this majority of the I don't know what it is. Is it the minds of the electorate which is unfortunately over 80% black at this point, right? Like why would you support some of these policy agendas? Why would you support counting illegal ballots? Why would you let your party spend money to do that? Why would you want an unfair playing field like that?
Well, here's the bottom line, just to make it simple, bro. It's real simple. Election day is November 5th. If your joint isn't postmarked by November 5th, you short. That's it.
Not that I want to know the people's names, but how many of those illegal ballots are people that they haven't showed ID? How many of those people are legal migrants that came here and stole a social security number? I did an audit on my joint, and then some illegal migrant with my social security number using it in Miami running around. I had to put a stop on it.
Mm.
Like it's insane. Like so my thing is I would be curious how many of those people are undocumented migrants, you're gonna call it. Okay, let's be politically undocumented.
Yo,
They're
and look,
illegal migrants, man. I don't see the problem. Like, what's the problem?
yo, so listen, one of the things is I'm gonna switch gears here a little bit. We're gonna keep with this same thing, but I
Thank
wanted to pull this up so folks can see this is what's happening, and this is not just Pennsylvania. This is happening in North Carolina. This is Representative Ken Fontenot, who's a alumni of the show here. He begins this article with a clarification. In the past 7 days, he's contacted the Wilson County Board of Elections a dozen times, 5 phone calls and 7 emails, expressing a desire to settle the issue without media or public attention. However, he discovered that the county board director and chairman have been unprofessional, unprepared, and seem to be participating in partisan politics. Here's the recap. On election nights, when the polls were closed, there were several irregularities that had been uncovered. First, the early voting results have historically been uploaded before Election Day results. However, for some reason in this election, the order was reversed. Second, for reasons unbeknownst to him, it took the North Carolina State Board of Elections 3 hours extra to upload the results. Typically, the time a county sends results to the state board takes 7 minutes. Why did this take 3 hours? I think that's a fair question. Third, on the morning of the election, it was discovered that Elm City's results thumb drive was full. It was replaced with another drive without figuring out why the first drive was full and if the second drive was free of viruses, bugs, or defects. That evening, the chief judge from Elm City also lost proper custody, forgot to bring a thumb drive. Lastly, a tabulator in Elm City had to be replaced while another tabulator in Gardner's malfunctioned. These events have given people concern for the integrity of the digital results. Additionally, a voting pattern analysis of trends in Wilson and Nash counties highlights several anomalies. President Trump lost Wilson County by fewer than 200 votes. Buck Newton won Wilson County by about 500 votes. Alan Chesser won his district by about 500 votes, and he lost Wilson by roughly 1,700 votes. After reviewing the facts, I initially requested a hand-eye recount from Tasha Bell, who has the discretion to order recounts. Didn't get a response. I emailed the board chair, Chip Futrell. After he informed me that only the state could perform a full recount, I requested instead to have a recount of only one precinct, Taylor's. Simple logic. If the recount of Taylor's, the largest district, is divergent from the tabulated results, we need to dig further. On the other hand, if the recount is accurate, then no further digging is necessary. The board dismissed his protest on the grounds that he needed to appeal to the state board rather than the county. After contacting the state, I was told that I must appeal to the county. Sounds like a runaround here. Besides the lack of clarity on the part of the board director and chair, as well as resistance to help get accurate information, he wanted to highlight that Ms. Bell has the discretion to order the recount of a precinct without a protest. His protest was dismissed, and neither Ms. Bell nor the board chair will commit to doing the recount. So it sounds like in this particular circumstance in North Carolina, you have a lot of unclear things happening. Question: if they're so confident in the administration of the election, then why not order a single precinct recount? Ultimately, he's pursuing this not for reputation, but because the county deserves a professional and conducted elections. The mishandling of the results thumb drive is egregious and inappropriate. Furthermore, it's unprofessional and disrespectful to our county that a state rep cannot get calls answered or returned. Lastly, there's no excuse to not respond to an email by the end of business day, much less not responding at all. Now, here's the bottom line. All of these people are Democrats at this board of election. All of them are there to do the elections job. But what they're supposed to be doing is not playing partisan games. And that sounds like what's happening. Not only is that happening in North Carolina, that's also happening with this Pennsylvania Supreme Court decision to tell these folks, you got to stop counting illegal ballots, ladies and gentlemen. Last but certainly not least this morning, when we were talking about North Carolina, we're also going to talk about our North Carolina State Supreme Court race that's going down. That looks like it's going to be headed, for more drama. North Carolina Supreme Court candidate is now having to sue over the results of the election. I'm going to pull that up here in just a second. Wait a second. screen share. So you have two people, Allison Riggs and Judge Jefferson Griffin, who are running for North Carolina State Supreme Court. Now, with this race, North Carolina Supreme Court Jefferson Griffin and Republican Party are seeking a temporary restraining order against the State Board of Elections. Griffin and the GOP argue that the elections board has failed to turn over records that would help Griffin decide whether to file an election protest. As of 3 p.m. yesterday, Griffin trailed Democrat Allison Riggs by 70 votes in a race for an 8-year state Supreme Court term. Griffin faces a Tuesday, today, deadline to seek a recount. But instead of giving him what he needs to request a recount, they're not doing that. Unofficial vote totals showed Griffin leading the appointed incumbent Riggs by more than 10,000 votes on November 6th, the morning after Election Day. As the county election boards counted provisional ballots and other ballots not tallied on Election Day, that lead shrank. So magically, there's some votes coming from somewhere. On Friday, the official day of the county vote canvass, Riggs overtook Griffin in the vote count. She led by more than 100 votes on Friday evening and then led by 24 votes when lawyers for Griffin and the NCGOP read their complaint. Come on, folks. Like, come on. What are we doing here? As of the filing of this complaint, there are 4 significant requests relevant to the general election that remain incomplete and outstanding from defendant. According to a request for temporary restraining order, quote, these requests relate to number 1, list of conflict voters, i.e. those who are suspected to have voted both absentee and in person. 2, those voters who utilized the curbside election day voting process to complete their ballot. Number 3, full and complete list of any felony convictions, including full and complete replicas of data sets and guidance provided by each county board of elections related to felony convictions and treatments of votes casted by those with convicted of a felony. And 4, full and complete list of deceased persons, including full and complete replicas of data sets and guidance provided to each county board of elections related to deceased persons and treatments of votes cast by deceased persons. So they're asking for all the felons, all the dead people that voted, and all the data sets of people who both voted absentee and in person. Because I was out at the polls and I saw people that said, yo, I have my absentee ballot, but I'm here to vote in person. So let's figure out what's happening here is all Judge Griffin is trying to say and the Republicans are trying to say. Give us all of the information required to let us know if we need to request a recount. North Carolina Republicans do have a majority on the Supreme Court, and this election wouldn't endanger that majority, but I think fair is fair, bro. We ought to be looking at every available thing to ensure we've got clean, fair, and honest elections in North Carolina.
Agreed. And this whole thing really, right, is about accountability. And it seems like a lot of things slip through the cracks, if you will, when there's no eyes on it. So, we gotta be mindful of that. But yeah, man, what else you got? Are we about done? It's already been 30 minutes. Yikes, there's so much.
Man, it went so quick, bro. 30 minutes right there. Ladies and gentlemen, you have been checking out Top of the Morning here on the Urban Conservative, your best 30-minute morning show on the interwebs. You own a small business or you running for office, get at us. We can help you expand your brand by advertising right here on the Urban Conservative. And it'll also help us keep doing what we do, which is sharing conservative values and principles and the benefits of conservative policies to urban communities across this great nation of ours. We will see you guys live and direct for Top of the Morning tomorrow morning. And make sure you're subscribed, get us a like, share, follow, subscribe, so you know when we drop news alerts right here on the Urban Conservative. For my twin brother, Raheem Architect Soto, I'm Abdul Ali. Y'all have been rocking with Top of the Morning here on the Urban Conservative. Peace and love, y'all.